why you're not ready to buy a business. Maybe you're too emotional. Maybe you don't even know if you've got the right amount of money to buy one, or maybe you don't even know the type of business that you're better suited to buy. Phil, this is a conversation you have at least twice a week at the moment by the seams.
Well, mate, I was sharing with you some stories because at the moment, buying a business seems to be up there with buying property, probably even sexier, some might say. And the calendar has been absolutely inundated with a lot of people that are sick of their punishing corporate life and want to explore the world of buying a business. And there'd be at least 2 to 3 of these folk a week that I'm talking to. And there's a common theme that's popping up. And that is that there's this romantic notion of buying a business and that it's the get out of jail free card. And you kind of got to take the prospective business owner on a bit of a journey and educate them that all that glitters is in fact not gold.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I was looking for some common themes and trends, and there's one startling one, but there's a number of things that hang off of it. But the general theme is a complete lack of preparedness. And I try and correlate that to housing, and it fascinates me that as younger New Zealanders, we've got housing absolutely rammed down our throats. We're taught as younger New Zealanders that housing is the thing that we need to be investing our time and energy into, and that, there's a particular process that we understand when buying a house, and you go and look at gazillions of them and we get emotionally attached into it, and there's the agent, and we put in an offer and we get a building inspection and valuation. There's all this time and energy going into about how to buy a house in the right way and the wrong way to do it, and which house to buy and which house not to buy. But that just, there's a massive void in the business realm of like what to do to buy a business. And we meet with these prospective business owners, and then they share with me, how they're going, where they're at, and what type of business that they're looking for. And I've then got to educate them on, no, let's go the next step. Like, what type of business are you looking for, and then what's your budget? And then once they share with me the budget, and everyone's looking for the golden unicorn, Luke, and I tell you what the golden unicorn is, and that's a business that's got monthly recurring revenue. I tell you, the MRR is a fucking popular acronym for people who are looking to buy businesses. They want it to be self-managed. They want it to spit out all of this profit, and it needs to be this niche product-based business that requires us to be hands-off, a passive investment, if you will. Kind of like a house, but produces income, good income. And I tell you what, they want to pick it up for the bargain price of under $1 million.
Sheesh.
And at that point there, you've got to say, listen here, folks, whilst there are a lot of businesses for sale at any one time, and I believe there are, we've then got to understand, like with housing, just because there's a stackload of quantity, it doesn't mean that it's all quality. And businesses can range in industry and segments and size. And you can get businesses that are sub 500,000 up to $1 million to say 2 to 5, and then 5 to 10. And that's starting to get to the outliers where you're getting over $5 million for your typical SME business. There's not many of them that are around. So most that we're looking at are in that 1 to 5 range on average. And then you get a fair few that are sub $1 million, but the type of business that you're buying for under $1 million and the quality of earnings that are dropping out of that's, particularly at the sub 500,000 franchise type business, you're buying yourself a job. It's going to be making pizzas or sandwiches or something like that, largely hospitality related. And yes, it's a business, but it's a job. It's not this monthly recurring revenue model that's going to spit out oodles of cash flow, all that kind of stuff. So I think there's this education gap there between what a business versus a quality business looks like, and then how much it's going to cost you. Once we've covered that off, it's then going, well, okay, you found the business that you're looking for, and you've found your unicorn, and let's say it's 1.5 mil. How are you going to pay for it? Crickets every single time. And I'm blown away the amount of people that actually haven't thought, I'm going to buy this business, but I don't know how I'm going to pay for it.
Because you would think that with property, people would get pre-approval or go and ask, how much can I borrow? Because that determines how much they could spend on a property.
Absolutely. And again, the correlation with housing, well, there's no correlation because you do exactly that. You go to buy a house, but even before putting an offer, you go into the bank and say, hey, you got to fill out that shit ton of paperwork of my statement of position, and this is my deposit, and here's my KiwiSaver balance, and here's my income, and da-da-da-da-da, and they'll give you what your lending limit is so you can go out shopping. Oh, this one's within my budget, da-da-da-da-da-da. But with a business, it's just like, I found this business, and it's like, well, can you afford it? And the amount of conversations that then you're having with business owners where they're looking at a business or potential business owners and it's a $2 million business, and on paper they got no shit show in hell of being able to afford it in theory. It's like, well, you're wasting your time, the broker's time, the vendor's time, my time. Like, why don't you get your ducks in a row first? And I think, again, there's probably a lack of education in that space as to this is how you could potentially buy a business because yes, by and large, most people are using the equity in their own home. So if you've just bought a home and you've maximized your lending capacity, chances are you ain't going to have sufficient equity to be able to go and buy a business yet. We've got to wait for another couple of property cycles for that thing to double in value and then double in value again before we can take that equity and put it into a productive asset called a business, not more sloppy housing. But there's probably going to be finance brokers listening to this go, Phil, you don't know what you're fucking talking about. Yeah, cool. Jump on the keyboard and let me know. But at the same time, I'm educating potential business owners. Go out there, speak to the banks, speak to the brokers. Banks can do cash flow lends, and that's where for the right business, they'll lend against the future cash flow if it's got proven track record of being an established business. If there's assets in the business, they can lend against that. It all doesn't need to be stacked against a house or the business itself. So on the face of it, most people aren't quite prepared in the finance piece, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily a no. Go out and do the homework. And I would encourage you to probably go and speak to a broker in the first instance. Don't go directly to the bank. And I say don't go directly to the bank because the banks have got no fucking idea. They only understand one thing, housing. The amount of people that I've spoken to that are looking at buying businesses, and I've said, look, you've got to get your ducks in a row. You've got a complete lack of preparedness here. You obviously weren't part of the Boy Scouts, and there's always be prepared stuff that they live by. Yes. You go to the camps with the Swiss Army knife. We're trying to give you the Swiss Army knife here, folks. I've had prospective business owners go to the banks and say, hey, look, this is a business I'm looking at buying. Here's the IM. Here's my position. Can I buy it? And they're just like, you don't know. You need to go through the formal process. And it's just like, well, no. I just need indicatively know before I start and go and waste everybody's time and incur money on lawyers and accountants and get too far down the road. So I think there's a weakness in the banks directly of being able to support people in buying businesses because they're one-trick ponies with property.
Now, I think the data backs it up. I think it's either 2/3 or 3/4 of all bank lending is housing.
While sloppy numbers, retail banks, I would have expected that to be 80%.
Yeah, it's heading that way.
Oh, it is. It's just gross. And I mean, we say about this on our podcast so often, and the reason it irks us so much is because we are, one, really pro-New Zealand. Like, as much as we beat this up on probably previous podcasts, like, I'm a big Kiwi fan. I love our country. I'm passionate about it, and I get super amped up and excited about business and our economy. And if there's something that we can do as accountants and having an advisory business to move the needle for a business, which can then impact multiple businesses and then have ripple effects across the economy, that gets me excited.
Yes.
Housing, boring as bad shit. You cannot influence the economy with housing. Yeah. It's just, I could go on. But anyway, we're trying to change that by educating people that business is the better way, and let's get better prepared. So understanding your numbers would be the first thing. And going off and educating yourself and speaking to finance brokers going, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. What can I afford? And I think once you understand what that range of numbers could look like and what the serviceability is going to be, because we're taking on more debt, which is then going to need to be repaid. And we know from previous podcasts that business debt is repaid over a significantly shorter period than a housing loan. So typically a housing loan, Kiwis are great at stretching out that 30-year loan, and then they'll go and refinance to another bank and reset the clock for another 30 years, and then go again for another 30 years. Next minute, we've got a loan that's not going to be fully repaid until we're 75 because we've been chasing the rebates of 1% of our debt. I'm going on here, mate. But the business ones, typically 7 to 10 years, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter, and the interest rates are higher because banks don't back business, they back housing. We're trying to change that. Shrewsbury, the Reserve Bank governor, maybe we need to get him on the pod and go, oi, what do we need to do to influence these numbers, to crank the economy via business? So I'd encourage you, if you're looking at taking on debt, what's going to be the cost? We're going to have an information memorandum, the IM, that's going to say, hey, we've got X business that's producing an X profits. Those numbers are all bullshit. Like it's been probably tweaked a little bit by the producer of the IM. So we need to actually go back to the hard data and go, what's the cash this thing's spitting out? And can we service our new debt with that? How's that going to impact our wider thing? So I guess the key point of it is understand your numbers. What can we afford? Then we can actually go with a more narrow focus of what we can afford.
Yeah.
Sticking with the finance theme, the other thing I think that is holding back potential business owners is a lack of access to immediate liquidity, cash. Because buying a business is a cash suck, more so than buying a house. Buying a house is a lazy asset. We just need a lazy investment into it in terms of just get some cheap lawyer to do the conveyancing. We go and find the cheapest person to do the building inspection, and then we go and find the cheapest person to do the property valuation, to tick boxes to get the asset because we're just so emotionally blinded about this shit asset class. Whereas buying a business requires a little bit more sophistication. We've got to involve a really good commercial lawyer. You need a really smart accountant, Next Advisory, to help you with the due diligence, ask the smart questions, dig below the details. You need smart finance people on your side. So it's requiring some upfront cash, and that money has got to come from somewhere. So I would encourage you to have a pot of cash before you go into this, either to fund the initial costs or to use as a deposit towards the business. Some people have got tens of thousands. I've spoken to potential business owners that are sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars ready to go. So it shows that there's just this, everyone's at different stages, got different balance sheets, and depending on your level of preparedness financially is going to impact whether you're going to get that business or not.
Just a random thought that's come to my mind. It's funny how in New Zealand we've normalised
Take three.
Mormonised, yeah. We've normalised a housewarming and a baby shower, but when you buy or start a business, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, cool, bro. No, I'm not liking your Facebook page." There's no like, "Oh, I'll get you your first like this," or "I'll support you." It's just like, "Oh, cool, bro. Good luck."
Yeah.
But if you're getting a new house, your parents might shout you a couch, or it might be there's definitely 500 Facebook likes.
Yeah.
Or a baby shower. Yet people will like bring you gifts and stuff. You start a business, it's like, oh yeah, let us know how you go.
Yeah. No, none of that, eh?
Yeah.
And I think the next step forward after buying the business, first employee. I mean, fuck buying the house with a baby shower. That shit needs to be celebrated.
Yeah.
Because that is probably the single biggest step of buying a business, or when you've started a business, that you hire your first employee. Because it is such a mindset shift of like, can I afford this person? And then you're committing to it because there's a contract there and you need to make sure that you're paying their salary every fortnight or month. Now, that's a massive burden for a business owner that they take really seriously.
Yeah.
We should be celebrating it. But anyway, I digress. But it's a really good point. Back on that preparedness piece, there's a common theme, and I won't get into the specifics of it, but everybody that I'm speaking to, of the 2 to 3, are almost looking identical, not only physically, but age and stage of life and background and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking to you C-suiters out there, you corporate refugees, so I've been told, hate your jobs. You're all looking to buy a business, and everybody's got different balance sheets personally in terms of their asset position and debt and da-da-da-da-da. And that's going to influence the type of business that you're going to be able to buy. And when I was talking earlier about the supply for businesses, I think that the supply of business at any one time, there's a lot there, but the quantity of businesses that are out there that are really good ones, that have got good earnings, fuck all. Like, if I'm really honest, there's really small quantity of businesses out there that are quality.
Is that because, I'd imagine, if you've got a really successful and profitable business, there's probably a private sale going on, there's probably, you don't want to sell it, someone's buying it internally.
Bingo. There'll either be succession planning with employees, or there'll be a bigger competitor that's going out there that's got the strong balance sheet. I mean, there's not many people out there at the moment that have got strong balance sheets because the price of butter. And but there's bigger businesses out there that are targeting what's their next acquisition. I was talking with a business owner in recent weeks, and they told me what their current turnover is, and they want to add tens of millions of more to that in the next 3 years. And you can only do it one or two ways, three ways. Inflation's going to get you there eventually because the Reserve Bank and central government have buggered us. That'll probably get them 3/4 of the way there. The rest of the way would be natural growth of just going out and doing more of what they already do, or acquisition, because there's plenty of other smaller players in their marketplace. They can just go, right, we'll buy you, and then that then spreads them from potentially the main centres, I don't know where they actually operate, to then going, okay, we're now in Dannyburg. Hawa, we're popping up there, Dunedin. I didn't have a presence there. So doing that, chewing that up, and you never hear about those because they're not going through a broker. Then there's the succession plans, or there's just the private sales. People have approached us again recently of just like, hey, look, I'm looking for a business to buy. Do you know of anything? Looking for something off market. Don't want to go through a broker. So people are looking, but the overwhelming majority, I think, of most SME businesses, small and medium businesses in the country, do go through a broker. And I think when they do get to the IM stage, it's probably like that hot stock tip of just like Tesla's on the way up, and when it's hit the media, it's like it's too late, then it's all over. Like Wall Street have already made their money. You've got to find out where the insiders are getting their information from, and that's where I think if you're interested in buying a business, you've got to be relentlessly hungry about it and live and breathe it day in, day out. And you've got to be that person that just shakes the cage relentlessly with brokers and just other people of just being hungry for information. And then the more prepared you are, the more that's going to put you to the front of the queue of being successful, because the supply side, in my opinion, is really weak of quality businesses, but demand for those businesses. So the 2 to 3 people that I'm speaking with a week are all looking for the same thing. And there's only one of those things that might pop up at any one time. When you've got multiple people looking for that one thing, only one of those people are going to be successful, so it becomes competitive. And to add some data to that, and albeit anecdotally, in the last couple of weeks, a handful of business owners have shared IMs with me, and they're like, no, we've left it too late. The broker's closed accepting any more offers because it's a multi-offer situation, and people are offering more than what the asking price is.
Sheesh.
So then they're backing out.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, you don't need to sell your soul to try and get the business because you've just got this. And that's the next thing I was going to get to in terms of the preparedness piece is how do you manage the emotional risk? So many people have just got, and it's particularly, and I say it in probably the kindest, gentlest way I can, but you C-suite punishers.
Wow. Yeah.
They hate their lives, they hate their jobs, they think they've got all these cool skills and they're really important. But in the real world of the SME environment, you've got no fucking idea. Because the SME world, you're wearing multiple caps and you operate at speed. There are no layers, and you've got to have an ability to make a decision. And I think a lot of people in the corporate world like the layers because that deflects responsibility and you take your time to make a decision. You snooze, you lose, in the SME space. And we went through due diligence in recent months with somebody looking to buy a business. It was a really cool business. And the DD was thorough, and the report was just sexy as. I'm not biased at all. And sat down with the client, husband and wife, and they'd emotionally purchased the business before doing the DD. They had all the plans. Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. We did the DD, highlight the risk and opportunity, sat down with them, and it's like, no, we're walking away from this. And I was really shocked. But even before getting to that stage and getting into DD, I said to this person, I said, you've got to stand in front of the mirror because we're running on a hamster wheel here with some of the questions that you're asking. And you've got to ask yourself one honest question. Do I have what it takes to be a business owner? And I paused and I left it at that. And there was absolute crickets. And I don't think this person had actually reflected of what it takes in terms of skills, mindset, emotion management to be able to go, am I fit and ready for this? Because you look at people that are in the C-suite, look at business ownership of going, that's my golden ticket. That's everything I've ever wanted because I get to have all the returns. I get to have this perceived lifestyle. But the effort and work that goes in behind, it's like that iceberg scenario of you only ever see that top 5%, but the 95% is below the surface.
Yeah.
That's business summed up in a T. And I think so many people only see that 95% that's floating above the water of like, oh man, you're rich because you run a business. But they're missing the 95% that's the, like, say for us, for example, the previous 8 years of work we've had to put in just to get here. And it's the multiple hats, the HR and the cash flow, and then is this person going to pay, and where's my next job going to come from, and then getting out there and advertising and putting yourself out there and actually burying tall poppy, because if you bloomin' are worried about being a tall poppy and you pop your head up looking for customers, you're not going to last long.
Yeah. You know, the thing with tall poppy as well in business, when you go from corporate to SME world, you know, you think that people have a crack at you when you're doing well. Wait till you're not doing well. Then wait to hear what they say about you. You know?
So I think it sounds really harsh, but it comes from a genuine place of wanting people to do well and succeeding. And it is a really fundamental, honest question to go, do I have what it takes to be a business owner? Because it is a completely different skill set. And so many people that I talk to, no, I shouldn't say so many, every single frickin' one is tarnished with emotional risk. They got the rose-tinted bloomin' Prada glasses on, going, yeah, man, this, it's going to solve all my problems. You can feel it in them. You can hear it in the voice. They might not say that it's going to solve the problems, but they've already got the answers, and they've got to the end game without actually doing any of the work. And it's just like, hang on a minute. Are you actually prepared and ready for what's involved here and thought about it? Particularly these ones where they're going, oh, yeah, I'm going to get this business and it'll be self-managed. Oh, so you think you're going to be able to maintain working a really sophisticated, high-level C-suite job 40 hours a week? I'm being generous. I mean, it's 25 to 30, really. I mean, because there's the 10 to 15, it's the lunches, the chats.
You can get those 1 hour meetings down to 15 minutes and even 5s.
Yeah.
Or have the Zoom meeting on mute whilst you're working on the business. Maybe you can multitask.
But the amount of people that think they can maintain the C-suite job or the executive level role and have because they're looking still for that, they want to have the cake and eat it too, the certainty of the high level income, 180, 220, 250 plus the company car and benefits, and then have the business on the side and think that whoever the manager is. So I'm basically saying to them, okay, you're prepared to put your house up as security for the business, which carries risk, and you're going to delegate that risk to somebody you don't know. So you've put control over the livelihood and where you live to somebody that you don't know because you want to maintain certainty and security of some punishing PAYE income. Crickets.
I think it's probably a good point to add here that this is part of what they are hiring you to do as such, is basically unemotionally point out all of the risk, because something that I often hear you say to them is basically you have to remember you are risking your home here. Because if the business fails, then maybe you can't get your way out of this and you've got to sell the family home. There's already a lot of emotion tied up in that. And I think a good reminder in here too is that we have these same conversations with current business owners or startups where it's like, look and Phil, I've got an idea. And we're like, okay, having an idea isn't turning it into $1 million business. And we can be overly emotional about how easy it would be to, just like we have with school rebates or even early days of Next Advisor. It's like, that shouldn't be that hard. It should only take us a couple of years. And you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Now we're in the grind.
Yeah.
And I think we romanticize the outcome and what life will look like, but don't then go, I need to be realistic about the risk I'm taking and what happens if it's slower than that, or if this supply goes under, or that customer pulls the pin on us, or if we have an internet outage, or the factory goes down, or whatever. We are so overly optimistic that it will just work out, which is a great quality, but you still need someone to challenge you and go, are you thinking about it from this angle? With the startup or the idea, it's like, is that a good use of your time? You want to be focusing on that. Do you want to risk your house? If you love property so much, then why buy another business? Why not just buy more property? And just challenge them to think of these things from a different angle. And I think that's where, every now and then Phil may get accused of not maybe even having any emotion, but
from time to time,
you're looking at this going, I need to protect them. If they're heavily left, emotional, then I've got to be right and go data and risk.
Yeah, spot on. And it's fascinating that when buying a business, that level of optimism and excitement, but then when you become a business owner, and as we've spoken about on previous podcasts, we're all just fucking doom and gloom. Like, where did all that optimism go When you
Yeah.
bought the business to then actually running the business, it's just like, hello, that's the reality of running the business and the roller coaster that you're now on. And when I come back to the like, are you ready to buy a business? Probably not. And we've spoken financially, and now we're getting into the mindset and emotional stuff. That's probably one of the biggest things to get a handle on, and knowing how to manage. And I think there's so much self-development, self-learning that individuals need to go through, because owning a business and running a business, you're going to learn more about yourself in a very short period of time than you ever have. Like if you're, in your 40s or 50s, you've been coasting that C-suite, going on those self-improvement things that the HR department has sent you on because they've identified all your weaknesses, hasn't fixed a fucking thing. But you go and buy a business and 6 months in, you've identified what you're actually really shit at, and then you really do need to fix that stuff up, otherwise you will go broke.
Well, maybe a really simple way to think about this is if you'd never go to a counsellor and you're never ready to go and speak to a counsellor, it's probably a good indication that you wouldn't want to run a business.
That's a really good a good way of putting it, because there's that level of vulnerability, and then if you don't know how to manage that vulnerability and get through some of those challenges, then man, is it really for you?
Yeah, because it'll find you out really quickly. And there's that good saying that basically business is the best form of self-development and learning about yourself that you can do. And that's, I think what it is that you've got to, if you're trying to figure out, am I ready to buy a business? It's, am I ready to go into the grind? Am I ready to continue to learn things and accept that I don't know half of what I think I currently do, and drop the ego and go, because there is this phase in business where you go through, and I think in any new job where you go through this kind of showy stage of, oh no, I do know what I'm doing and I'll prove to you that I do. And then eventually you get sick of that, and because people are like, oh, okay, like okay, let us know how you get on, and you're almost better to go and speak to someone that does know what they're doing and go, can you save me the 6 months and the money and the pain and the torture, and just tell me what I should do from here. So you've got to be ready to grind, to learn, and go through the ups and downs.
Spot on. And I think the ego piece that you touched on, and I've just noted here, like drop your ego and replace ego with education.
Yes.
And I think there's, like us, I mean, I've got a Calendly link, we'll share it in the show notes, and more than happy to help educate people along that path. And you grab half an hour of my time. And we can have a chat about your particular circumstances. But I think if I'm not the only one doing this, there's other brokers out there, there's finance people out there that want New Zealand to succeed, and we know the way for New Zealand to succeed is via business, not housing. So the more people we can educate and help on that journey, let's do it, because the more prepared you are, and if you're not ready now, at least you've got the ambition and drive to ultimately one day have your own business. And if you can go out and educate yourself and find out and go, right, let's get all my ducks in a row. And it might take 6, 12, 18 months to do that through that process. But if you're dedicated, then the time's going to be right. All of these businesses that, supply is really thin and there's great demand, that demand might wash off because the amount of buyers that are in the market has dropped off, because they're out of the picture now. You're not competing with as many people. So you've got all these businesses where there's not so much competition. So FOMO, I think at the moment, is a real risk. And I think FOMO is going to be amplified and impact the emotional risk, because it's just like, oh, I'm going to miss out. I need to pay for this business because I want the business. No. We've got to remain objective and data-driven when making a decision on business.
There's that old saying, not every opportunity is for you. And I think, this is almost what you say to a lot of these people when I hear these convos is like, okay, just because you've got the IM doesn't mean you have to buy it. Yeah. Not every business is for you. And I think what I observe is you're trying to get the person and put them into the right vehicle, i.e. the right type of business, because then you're going to have a better opportunity of actually, enjoying it and running it and doing it well. And on the other side of this, a fascinating conversation with a business owner recently who's done business successfully for some time, and they're looking at business and they're like, shit, I've learned a lot, and I think I can see a way to make even more money. And that is by taking the skills that I've got to build this business and go and buying a real boring ass business, and then applying these skills and building it up for 2 or 3 years and going, I know I don't want to do that long term, but shit, they're running it poorly. I reckon I can zhuzh it with the skills that I do have, and then I'm going to flick it in 2 to 3 years' time.
Tax-free, based under current rules.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. We get a in education through business as well, and then we can then turn it into more money if we really know what we're doing. But again, same thing for them. They're like, I'm going to go slow and I'm going to find the right business where I know, okay, that could be done better. So then they're out there transacting with a whole heap of boring businesses to see who's slow to reply, who's still clunky as with payment, what's their process, how does this work, do they have any marketing running, and checking all the stuff that they know where they're like, okay, I'm going to find the one that's got the upside and I'm going to just go and just bust my ass on that for 2 and 3 years and sell it. So great like vision from the start or clear, goal for it. But then that'll probably then lead to the next one and a bigger one as well.
And the next one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great place to be. I mean, we could sit here and talk for hours about buying business, but if you've got this far of the podcast, the key takeaway would be, as a potential buyer, you're competing in all likelihood with multiple people that look exactly like you. Because I'm having the calls. So, I mean, this is no bullshit. There's 2 to 3 people a week who are in exactly the same boat. So you're competing against each other. To get to the front of the queue, get better prepared. And I think we've highlighted here a number of things that you can do that are going to influence your degree of preparedness, that are going to increase the chances of you getting the business that you want.
So if we were to condense it into like one thing, that if you could educate 1,000 potential business buyers that before they get to ringing you up and being like, hey, do you think this is a good idea? Would it be understanding your own financial position and therefore what you're going to be able to borrow and therefore what you're going to be able to buy?
Yeah, I would actually probably say 2 things. It'd be that, the finance piece, understand like, how am I paying for it? What's my budget? Because then that will narrow it a lot more and then we're really clear on the type of business that we can get. And the second piece would be ask yourself the question, do I have what it takes to be a business owner? And really get to the crux of your emotions and mindset.
And yeah, I guess, and to help answer that, what's driving you? Like, why? Because you need strong whys. Because when it does get grindy, you've got to go, why am I doing this?
Yeah, because there's no one else out there when it turns to shit. Because when the housing market turns to shit, everyone's feeling like shit, and we're not going out and doing everything. We're all in the same boat together. But when it's a business owner feeling like shit, you can't go crying to anyone.
Yeah. The sympathy does not exist.
No.
Yeah, there's no like, well, I guess there's liquidation stats, but like, when people are unemployed, there's, we feel sorry for them. But when businesses are struggling, it's kind of like, oh, well, you chose business. Get on with it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if you need to speak to Phil on the Next Advisory website as well, because you might listen to this down the track, or remember this for the future. If you do start exploring buying a business, there's 2 Calendly links on our website. If you find Phil's calendar, which is mostly halfway down the page, I think, and there's a buying a business or maybe even valuing a business, because you may want to look to get it valued, which Phil can explain to you as well.
Spot on.